Hey, PSY101 students, welcome back to the research paper instructional videos for the final draft. Hopefully the rough draft wasn't too difficult and you were able to find some interesting articles and topics that you wanted to kind of look into further. So we're going to go back to our research paper folder from the homepage. And now we're going to look at all of the final draft information. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and download this. I'm going to click on it. And these are the final draft instructions. So we already have our rough draft, and it's basically a very quick outline of everything that we're going to be using for our final draft. And you're just building upon this. You're going to use a different template, though, because you're going to be writing full sentences just like a normal paper, okay? So for your final draft, you're going to use the two articles that you selected for your rough draft, and you're going to write a paper summarizing and describing both of the studies. All right. So for each section, you're going to use the template that I'll show you to complete the sentences that you already had, but put them in more of like a normal format, like a paragraph form. And then you're going to include your in-text citations throughout your paper as well. And I'll get into what that should look like. So again, your paper is going to look just like the rough draft, but it's going to have a few different components. So one is going to have an introduction where you're going to describe and introduce the psychological topic that you're exploring in both studies. So whatever that is, go ahead and list that there. You're going to discuss the importance of studying the topic and why it's important to use both a qualitative and quantitative study to do that. And then you're going to state the purpose of your paper, basically to compare and summarize your two studies, which is also called a thesis statement. So your thesis statement will go at the very end of your introduction, and it's the last sentence in that introduction paragraph, and it's really just to show the reader what the purpose of your paper is. All right. So that is going to be your introduction. Your second part of this is you're going to describe the research design, the variables, the participants, and the measurement instruments for your qualitative study. So everything that you already listed in your rough draft, you're then going to basically state in your final draft in this paragraph or a couple paragraphs. So you state the research design used, which is qualitative. You're going to explain the central phenomenon or the themes explored. You're going to describe the participants, which include the sample size, the demographics, and the recruitment methods that you've already stated in the rough draft. And then the tools or the methods that were used, like the interviews or the focus groups, in order to get that data collection for that qualitative study. And then you're going to do the same thing for the quantitative study, but this time you're going to state that it's quantitative. You're going to identify the independent, dependent, or control variables. You're going to describe the participants just like you did, which is the sample size, the demographics, and the recruitment methods, and then the measurements tools or instruments that were used, such as the questionnaires or the surveys. All right. So that could be a couple paragraphs. It could be more, whatever you think best describes those and outlines them. The third part is the results and the findings. So you're going to compare and contrast the findings from both studies. So what did they find with the qualitative? What did they find with the quantitative? And what were the differences, okay? And then you're going to highlight how the results of each methodology contribute to understanding the topic. So maybe there was something that they found in the qualitative study that was much different than the quantitative study, or vice versa. And you're going to say maybe one was more helpful or both of them are helpful together. If you have them just left alone, maybe it's not enough information. Whatever it is, go ahead and list that. And then you're going to discuss any differences or similarities in the insights offered by each of those different approaches, okay? So again, what would be more helpful in one that maybe wasn't in the other? Were they both really helpful? Were they both missing something? Was one missing something that the other one wasn't? That's something that you're going to want to discuss. And again, you're going to be using the third person in all of this. So don't say, I believe, just say the results showed or the study showed, however you want to state that in the third person. Just don't use I or me. And then the last part is the conclusion. You're going to summarize the key takeaways from both of the studies. So really kind of what did they both show or prove from doing these studies and all collecting this data. And you're going to reflect on the value of using multiple research methodologies to study different topics. So really, why is it an advantage to use both or different types of methodologies to do research? All right. And then the last part is you're going to include your references. So of course, you're going to have references for both of the studies that you're talking about. So you should have at least two. You're going to put those on a separate reference page, and you're going to list those in alphabetical order. And then you're going to include in-text citations throughout your research paper. So really, anytime that you list something that is from a study, you have to include an in-text citation at the end of it. So that that doesn't matter if you are directly quoting or if you are taking the information from the source and putting it into your own words. You have to put a in-text citation at the very end of the sentence. If you directly quote, you have to have the quotation marks and then the page number as well. But you always have to have in-text citations if you're stating anything from a source. So just remember that. So your final draft requirements, again, you cannot write in the first person. So make statements to support the information from each of the studies with your in-text citations as well. Try to avoid direct quotations because you really want to paraphrase that information as much as you can. Remember, anytime that you paraphrase, you still need that in-text citation at the very end. Avoid using rhetorical questions. So instead of asking the reader, just kind of tell the reader what you're trying to say. All of your claims or all the information need to be supported by academic citations throughout. So again, anytime that you state something from a reference, you have to have a citation at the end of the sentences. Remember, almost every single sentence should have a citation at the back end of it, unless it's something that you're just kind of stating or that's known like kind of by everyone, kind of like the sky is blue. You wouldn't need a reference for that because everyone knows. But if something specific to your articles, you would need that. And then you're going to use the assigned template. So you have to make sure that you're using the template that I provide, which I will show you what that looks like. And everything's already kind of laid out for you in APA, which is the right font size, it's double spaced, all that good stuff. Your paper should be between 750 and 1,000 words, and your paper should have these different sections. Again, it's already outlined for you, okay? So then your rough draft, again, was due in Module 5. This one will be due in Module 11, and you're just gonna go ahead and submit it to the Dropbox. All right, so that's really kind of just a summary of everything that you need to know in terms of the instructions. Okay, now let's get to the template. So we already had our rough draft template. Let's get to the final draft template. Oops. Here we go. So this is what the first part would look like. So you're going to have your running head. So you're going to have your title here. You can put the title up here if you'd like. If you don't want a running head, you can just delete this whole thing and stick with it down here. Put your name, keep the college, keep my name, and then again, if you want, you can go ahead and put the title up here in caps if you want. If not, go ahead and delete it, and then you put the title here again, and then this is where you would start listing everything. Your introduction would go here. So you would introduce the different topics and discuss the importance of the study, and then your thesis sentence would go here. And then when you kind of are summarizing everything from your rough draft and you're putting it into here, make sure it's in complete sentences, it's in the third person. You can go ahead and delete everything that's kind of in this italicized font here, and you're going to delete your introduction right here. And then keep everything that's in bold, because these are all of your titles or your subtitles, and we need to make sure that everything is organized properly and outlined. So when you look at this, you know exactly where your research design and variables are for each of the qualitative and quantitative studies. Same thing with your results and your findings. So you're going to delete this when you get here, and then you can go ahead and delete these as you kind of fill out all these different subsections. But everything in bold should stay. Everything that's italicized should go. And of course, the directions as well. Hopefully that makes sense. And then when we get down here, here is your reference page. So you would keep references just like this. You would delete, obviously, this little part. You would get rid of these, but then you would want to go ahead and copy and paste from, if you got them from Google Scholar, you can put them here, double spaced, just like this is indented. What I like to do is I like to copy and paste them at the bottom and then delete these so it keeps the format just as is and it won't get any weird or wonky way of changing it up, because it likes to do that sometimes on you. All right, so if you just stick to the template, you'll have every part of information that you need, especially if you're pulling it from the instructions and if you're pulling it from your rough draft, okay? So after you do this, your student example right here, if you click on that, this is what the student example should look like. So you can go ahead and take a look at this. Again, it's just an example, so you want to make sure that you're still sticking to the questions on the instructions just like you would. So you can put the running head, the impact of mindfulness on stress reduction. This is what our title is. Your name would go here. You go down. It's up here again. You list it one more time. And then you go ahead and start in with your introduction. So you kind of identify what mindfulness is. You're talking about qualitative and quantitative studies. And then you have your nice thesis sentence right here. And then again, it keeps everything in the same format. So qualitative study, you're talking about a certain study. A quantitative study, you're talking about a certain study, the results and the findings, and see how that there's in-text citations throughout. And then you have a conclusion. And then you have your references in alphabetical order. So again, this is a student example, so it's not perfect, but you know, if you have any questions as you start working on this, please let me know. I'm here to help. If you have any questions in terms of trying to figure out you know, the best topic, please let me know. Hopefully you already have your topics, but if you're trying to maybe change something or find something else, please let me know as well. Again, your APA resources are here if you do need anything. The library, the MCC library is there. Google Scholar is here for you as well. But then you would just go to module 11 and submit it with the rest of your assignments for that week. So hopefully that's not too difficult and hopefully it's straightforward. Again, if you have any questions, I'm here to help. I can always meet you in the library. I can always meet you via Zoom. And I'm around campus on certain days as well. And we could always meet in person. So let me know. Good luck. And I can't wait to read your different studies and kind of compare the differences. All right, take care.